Well, today's the day to service the hydraulic fluid in the Workmaster. I've had a couple of people inquire about it and ask if I can make a video. So this is what I'll be doing, and this is what I'm going to be putting in the tractor. It's the premium transmission fluid, and this is the part number for the hydraulic filter, but this is what I was after when I was looking for fluid. This number right here, M2C134D. This is what the manual calls for in the transmission. The transmission and the hydraulic reservoir share the same fluid to operate both. And it's the New Holland Ambra Multi-G transmission oil. And that number I just showed you is the equivalent viscosity to this multi-G fluid. Okay, when I did this, I started the tractor, I raised the loader up, I raised the 3-point up, I shut the tractor off, and then I lowered the loader and the 3-point with the engine off so that it didn't push any more hydraulic fluid into your cylinders, or into the cylinders, and that all the fluid fell back in the reservoir and it'll get drained. And coming underneath the tractor, here's the hydraulic fluid. Oh, hydraulic fluid. There's the hydraulic filter on the driver's side. And then here is the drain coming off the rear differential right here. It's an H17. And I imagine this is going to be pretty tight. All right, get the bucket under here. And here we go. I got my second bucket ready. Start moving it over here shortly. Slide this one in place so that it doesn't make a big old mess. All right, it's starting to get full quickly. There we go. Okay, so while this thing's draining, I want to mention that a couple of guys have reached out to me, one via email and the other one made a comment in one of my previous videos. They live up north in the colder climates during winter, and they talk about how this hydraulic fluid that comes from the factory turns to Vaseline or starts to gel over. I haven't experienced that, and I don't know, I can't speak much on the viscosity of the fluid. The only thing I can say is I'm putting the same fluid back in it that New Holland recommends. They've been running this multi-G 134 fluid for a long time now. It's kind of their blanket answer when you ask them what type of fluid to put in it. They run this stuff in their big, expensive equipment that, that makes 60 gallons per minute. They run this stuff in the steering system that your front axle hubs, and your front axle uses this same fluid. So if you ever change it out, if you ever drain your front end, then you'll be putting multi-G back in it. All right, here's where we're at. One bucket's full, this one not so much. So the manual says it takes 9.2 gallons, so clearly I have got fluid trapped somewhere in the tractor. Here's the plug. And it does have a O-ring on it. So you want to inspect your O-ring. So there's still a little bit of fluid in the system. Obviously all your lines and that hydraulic filter, it calls for 9.2 gallons of hydraulic fluid. So you're not going to get it all out, but I'm going to drop that filter and see how much fluid comes out of it. Okay, that's new filter. Still dripping. Nope, we're good to put the plug back in. Okay, this is your hydraulic drain above the rear end. And right here, this low point is your transmission. It should still drain all your hydraulic fluid. This is just a little bit lower point. So I'm gonna pull this plug to get the residual fluid out of this area here. It shouldn't be too much more. This one takes a 10 millimeter. So you could probably get away with draining this lower point instead of pulling this plug. However, if you pull this plug, it's got a magnet on it, so you're able to clean that magnet off. I would still recommend draining both ports. And I noticed here on this shielding, these bolts are loose. And it caused a rattle. I was wondering what that rattle was. All right, this here, the manual doesn't mention this whatsoever. I believe this is a transmission filter. I don't know if it's a paper element or if it's a metal strainer, but I'm going to check it out and see what happens. Ooh, that was some dirty looking fluid. All right. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, you can see here, the part number is 519-4879-0405F, made in Italy. It's got an O-ring on it. You can see this one ripped, and it's a paper element. The manual doesn't mention ever changing this or servicing this. So I looked real quick on the internet. Your case part number is 519-4879. Looks like it's about $70 off the internet. So I'm gonna go ahead and order one because I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of gray tint to this hydraulic fluid. So there's some fine shavings in here off the transmission. So I'm gonna go ahead and service it and replace this filter. The manual never talks about servicing this from what I have found. So I don't know what the hour interval is to change this transmission filter. This O-ring broke. I was just gonna put an O-ring in it and keep running it, but to me it looks like it's a paper element, so I'm gonna go ahead and change it while the system's drain. And here is the housing or the case. It's got an O-ring on it as well. So yeah, that's new to me. It looks pretty clean in there. I'm glad I took it apart because, you know, I want to keep this tractor in top-notch shape. But so I guess the next thing to do, since I have to order this here filter, is I'm going to fill up the fluids back here in the back. Here's your fill port to fill everything up. And I'm gonna go ahead and start adding fluid to it and get it all topped off. And I'm gonna end the video here. So just a quick recap. You got two places you can drain that hydraulic fluid, one underneath the differential and then one at the lowest point in the transmission. Pull both your plugs so you can clean your plugs off. And then that transmission filter, you know, maybe you can contact your dealer and find out when they recommend changing it. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and service it now while I've got all the fluid drained. And I'm gonna go back with that premium hydraulic fluid from Napa. So hopefully that helps some of y'all out there. Those of you that follow the channel, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you subscribing. And I appreciate the comments from based off your experiences and what you know. And I guess until the next video, we'll see you next time.